Welcome, folks. The song you hear regularly brings me to tears. If I sit quietly and let the sound enter me, water. This is the season of grief, and that's my report. Let yourself feel the letting go. We will turn off the music now. All right. Today is day 14 for Craig. Finally did my exam parameters, so that's kind of the theme today is keeping this rolling with the momentum of the intention. Why am I doing this? Every day I wake up, why am I doing this? Like last night, being on the cleanse allowed me to not eat late and generally sleep a little better with a little food in my stomach. So the SP Detox Balance chai shake with a little cream was, number one. And so that really did me right. Had about, probably about this much, maybe about 8 to 10 ounces. And went to bed and slept really good, about a little 12:30. And that's another thing that, why am I doing this? I'm doing this to be clearer. I'm doing this to be a better person. I'm doing this to create the new world. I'm doing this so I can be in better health. And I'm doing this because there are signs in my life that I need to correct the fire burning out of control. And this is, I was talking to somebody yesterday, like, is this the most yang or the most yin season? And she said, yin. And I said, yeah, if you're on the East Coast or if you're in, the darkness is increasing, that's a yin parameter. The moisture is increasing, that's a yin parameter. But here on the West Coast, it's dry, and that's partially artificial. The geoengineering has dried the air out by, over the last 20 years, the relative humidity has dropped 10-20% here in Santa Cruz alone. And that's the kind of research you got to do if you really want to not be a conspiracy theorist, is like gather data, gather facts. And so there's very few people that really understand the things that I see, because I feel the sky before I look, and then I feel the aberration. Like yesterday, it's a very hard day until about 4 or 5, and then the chemtrails and the geoengineering cleared up. And then so it's do it so it can be clearer. And being clearer isn't good sometimes, because then you see things that you didn't see before, and good and evil. So you see the beatific love and the all evil's live spelled backwards, folks. Think about that. Evil is live or live spelled backwards. So evil is dark, and it's not inherently immoral. It's just dark, and it's not light. And if you're in a dark closet, you can't see anything. And if you're on a dark freeway without headlights on your car, your chances of an accident, is that evil? Well, what if your headlight's broken? You drive across town in an emergency and you end up hitting a telephone pole or something. That's not evil. Or if you accidentally, hurt somebody, it's not evil. It's just not an efficient choice, right? And so it is with health. Like my parameters go, mainly it's just not eating late, staying off. I was reading some more stuff about caffeine I'm going to show you today, and it's why you don't want to rationalize your caffeine use, because it's lowering your adrenals and it's changing your mineral ratios. It's depleting minerals. And I'm going to talk to you about that today. When I drink one of these, I did my saliva pH after 6.0. Did my urine pH 6.0. Saliva should be 7.0 pH, more alkaline. The urine should be a little bit more alkaline. So I'm going to check that again today. Blood pressure fell 10 points when I stood up. Body temperature is down 97.7, my normal parameter. Tongue is showing yang, fire consuming the yin. I'll show you that in a while. Like when you see a tongue that red, you know that person has heat. Okay. And they're eating beets and they're eating red foods, of course, too. That could definitely pigment the tongue. So going to bed at 10, getting up at 6 is sort of my ideal. Last night, we're trying to find ways to be inspired. So I found the old Kung Fu series on Amazon Prime. And, there's just so many lessons of the old Taoist, the old martial art tradition. And one of the themes has been honor. And that means different things for different people. So, yes, up later than I wanted to be last night. but set my alarm for 8 and was up for the open hours today. All right, so let's go right into a couple of bit of this discussion. All right. That's a cancer resource there if anybody's interested. That's Dr. Kelly's One Answer to Cancer book, but that's not what we're looking at today. Okay, so Craig's exam sheet. Let's start right off with that. And so there's yesterday's date. And so the parameter here, the pain scale is sort of 0 to 5. And I guess, so this is available to anyone. It's in the, you can take this exam sheet right here and you can remodel it, make it enough so you can have it for yourself. And you can see there's a do-it-yourself home testing. I kind of chose the wrong tab. I'll put the numbers over here later, but these are all the home tests you can do. I mean, look at this, all in one place. And then the office exam is what I showed, and that's a little more complex for my clinical team. See, it's a lot going on the office exam. And then there's a pulse area. If you wanted to, if you're just into pulses, and there's a systems survey, what the different groupings mean. There's some images of the exam process in the intestines, which points to press. And that's there. So office exam, Craig had most of my points. I didn't show a lot of external inflammation in terms of the digestion, the gut, the belly points. The head of the pancreas was a 2 out of 5. The right thumb web is a gallbladder stagnation point. That's generally on the right side. You just pinch it. Large intestine 4 is sort of under the bone here. And then, but you pinch this thumb web. So you got to go under that bone on the index finger. So the blood pressure lying was a little elevated, 130 over 80, and a pulse of 63 is a good pulse. And then in the ideal reading standing up would be 135 over 85, pulse of 68. So let's put that next to it. And then, so ideal would be 135 over 85, pulse of 68. So as you can see there, it fell 15 points from where it should be, actually fell 10, and the pulse increased 12 points higher than it should. So I could do a follow-up pupil reflex test with a light shining into the pupil and see what it does. And it should stay contracted for at least 30 seconds. And that's a really good test for adrenal fatigue, the paradoxic pupil reflex, and this is a quantification of your vitality. Why did I do this? Well, if I'm showing signs of low adrenal, then I'm probably mineral deficient. The saliva shows that. And there's the yang consuming the yin, because yin is minerals. And so I'll be following these up a little more often. See, there's the ideal reading there. So we can delete that now. So like we'll do another one tomorrow, so 10:23, and be ready for that. And we'll actually do it here, 10:23. Much better, right? There we go. And then we'll change that later. So the test you can do is the adrenal test here. And maybe we should make this a little bigger. Hope we can read that a little better now. Sorry, that was a little small for people watching the video. You can even make it a little bigger there. So you want your blood pressure lying, your blood pressure standing, and lying is 5 minutes. So that's 3 to 5 minutes lying down. And then the blood pressure standing is immediately upon standing. And then we need to format that cell. There we go. So the pupil reflex, the scratch test is really you just get a coin and you scratch your arm along here. And the data for that, the Sargent's line, you can look that up online. I don't know that I have a resource for that. And then there's your oral and urine pH. You could also check your saliva pH a minute after about a half a cup, quarter cup of lemon juice. The zinc taste test we have here. The iodine test is a topical test with Lugol's iodine. Temperature and the temperature upon wake is a different test. We talked about the VCS test. I have the NTQ, that's a neurotoxic questionnaire. I don't have the Medioxy stuff. The breath hold in, breath hold out. That's another good test of acidity. The Candida spit test is available. Photographs of the tongue are available. We're going over those today. The amount of gas you have, when is the gas, itchy lower end, appetite. So those are some parameters you can look at for at-home testing. Isn't that great? So if I have low vitality, then we'll click off of that. Then, and I have what's called low adrenals, then I want to look at like, look at this right here. So Ragland's test. Let's make this a little bigger too. All right. So this is from Stuart White. Thank you, Stuart, for the use of this. See, reclining after 4 minutes, repeat standing up ASAP. They say 45 seconds. And they say 8. I think 5 is fine. And then see, inadequacy means adrenal fatigue and a few remedies. Diastolic means kidney fatigue. I'd make that a little bit of a larger. Pulse rate inadequate means heart fatigue. And then if they go up too much, then you've got adrenaline issues. So what I like about this the most is there's a whole write-up here. See, my drop was 10 right there. And he goes in to explain, so we have these veins that don't have valves, and so the nervous system has to sort of compress, because when you stand up, let's go off screen share for a second so I can sort of outline this. So you're laying flat, let's pretend this is a human laying flat. And so the body, actually even do it on a whiteboard would be even better. All right. So you have this person lying flat, and again, pardon we'll put him in orange, I guess. So you got this person laying flat here, kind of a semi-stick figure, put the feet up, right? Arms at their sides, and we'll give them a smile. There. So they're laying flat, and notice how if the heart, hard to draw a heart sideways, there we go. See, if the heart's pumping blood horizontally like that, it requires less force, right? And then suddenly the axis goes vertical, and the heart has, remember, these veins don't have any, so the blood starts to pool down here. So you have to increase the pressure in the system to get the blood up here. And if you can't do that, then the adrenals are supposed to do that. So you can see via just graphically, you're laying down, you have a bad day. I have a day where I'm so nauseous that if I lay down, it's the only way I feel good. And that's kind of what we're talking about, is this adrenal fatigue thing. Should I label that? Well, let's just call it Ragland's test, vitality to determine strength of cleanse. See, so if you can't get yourself, to have a higher blood pressure, and you have lightheaded when you stand up, that's the point I wanted to make. So let's save that. And let's go back over now to the other screen share. So I made my point, see, and now we go over to vertigo. And look at this, the vertigo. One of the major indicators for vertigo, these are all the reasons why. This is Dr. Royal Lee's work. And this was written probably, oh man, we're not going to see it down there, but it's probably 70 years ago he wrote this. So notice, dizziness requires this as a minimum, but then you look at hypoadrenia. Neuromuscular fatigue, asthenia, is believed by Harrow to have an adrenal basis. Dizziness is one of the symptoms. Use Ragland, see, it even mentioned, use Ragland's postural blood pressure method to see if this symptom has an adrenal basis. See, it very, very important to understand. And look at today's world. High blood pressure, hearing loss, disoriented, overloaded liver, low adrenals, oxygen status off, and blood volume off. And so he tells you, if you have low adrenals, what you need to do. vitamin C, and see, you can have as much salt as you want. And then if you want oxygen, well, the iron part, that's ferro food. So we want to look at vitamin E, vitamin C. See, there's the blood building chlorophyll, and then ferro food's a blood builder, but it has too much iron in it, so I stopped selling it. All right. So see, there's the valves, and there's the dizziness, or there's the attack of the flu. So anytime you have a sneezing fit, coughing fit, a long cold and flu, then you're going to end up with this tiredness of the adrenals. And this is, you can freeze this part, talks about the leg squeezer. This chemical here is probably adrenaline, chemical substance. Talks about the paradoxical pupil. And this is what you see on lab work. This is what I see a lot of is increased potassium, low sodium, relatively so. So sodium 138, potassium 4.7, 4.8. That's a major marker of low adrenals. And if you have hypertension, so you have low blood pressure, high blood pressure, then so low blood pressure, low adrenals. And look at that. There's also low thyroid, decreased cholesterol, low thyroid. So increased cholesterol, high thyroid. So you see how if your potassium is decreased and your sodium is increased, that's probably a high blood pressure. And you want to avoid potassium excess foods. And there's the ones that you really got to avoid if you're in adrenal fatigue. And that's really too bad. So if I have, I like olives, so they're well salted. If I have potatoes, there's salt and butter. If I have asparagus or avocados, there's usually salt added with them to balance that potassium. So that's kind of this is a very good article. I'll put the link in the description of the video tonight. So you can watch, if you're watching the video, you don't have to get access to the emails to get it. And then, so on the cell test manual, then to tie in with this, hormonal dysregulation on that cell thing that we're talking about the last few days. And this right here, the Cell Owner's Manual by Mark Squibb, shows you the stages of degeneration that a human goes through. And I think we can move this over just a little bit. There we go. We got it centered now. So we would call this phase 1 in my world. Maybe this is part of phase 1 here. And then phase 3 would be these bottom two. And you can freeze frame this if you want. And phase 2 would be this. And if you look at where your symptoms are, this is a great checklist to see where you are in the degenerative process. And so hormonal dysregulation, see, tilt, compromised membrane performance. You go to thyroid, endocrine. And so, see, insulin insensitivity, type 2 diabetes. So it all starts with insulin, and then there's the thyroid hormone. See, thyroid relates to fatigue syndromes. Insulin relates to glucose management syndromes. So your insulin is directly related to your carb intake. And leptin is a good hormone to check out. That has to do with satiety, being satisfied after you eat. Then we talked about the lab works. See, hormone glands talk louder when cells aren't listening. That's an elevated TSH right there. And then you start getting into, we can talk about this next time, autoimmune dysregulation. And notice tumor necrosis factor alpha there. So it's a little bit more advanced I wanted to go into today. So we'll move on now. So you noticed my hypoadrenal patterns. So what we have today is, notice the tongue. This is what I do for all new clients. I couldn't get a sclera shot. So there's my tongue. And I believe I did an interpretation of it. Let's see what we got here. Yes, right here. So overall, a good red, but a bit too red. So that's the yang consuming the yin. We can blow this up a little bit. There we go. The coating, it's stripped, it's shiny. And that's a bad sign. Yang consuming yin. And it's wet though. The middle tongue crack got bigger from years past. I used to have a thick white coat in the back, so that's the yin. But years of work, no more. Now the challenge is to nourish the yin. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. And then we can go to my Google folder, which all new clients have, and look at, okay, let's see what kind of photos Craig has of his tongue. Okay, there's August. Probably not it though. So let's go into 5 reference materials. This is where the photos are stored for some people. I'm going to remove that artifact there. These are all labs, it looks like. So usually we go to folder 3 then, which is tracking and follow-up. And Craig Tum of summer 2020 or March 2021. So let's look at last year. So it's about 18 months ago was the last photo I took of my tongue. And look at the change. So 18 months ago, notice the red here, the thick coat, see that, the remnant of that coat there. And then we go back to this photo and look at the change there. So if you can't see this difference from that, see the shiny tongue is absent here. And that's the big problem, is yin nourishing. So caffeine, alcohol, and cannabis use are all the 3. So I've eliminated the alcohol, got the caffeine down about 90% at this point, 80, 90%. And so I'm looking at the recovery of the tongue and potentially going off all caffeine. And that's the point. Another intention for the cleanse is we want, let's archive that now. So what we want is ourselves to feel vital, right? We don't want to feel like, so that tongue will require some yin nourishing and rest. And I'm pretty tired right now. All right, so we got that in there. That's here on the link for the colon cleanse resources. And then the 21-day, let's go look at that real quick. I was talking about it a little bit yesterday. Remember, you come back to this every day. You're doing a cleanse, you got to come back to, why am I doing this? Okay, we're on officially now, I believe today's day 14. So tomorrow will be officially week 3. I did my cumin seed chews last night, which was quite fascinating. And they're supposed to increase saliva. So I noticed I felt balanced and I had a little bit of hunger later. My stomach was growling around 10:30. So I had that snack, kept me up a little bit past midnight. And so today's, I'm going to go do, tonight will be silence. Today we're going to put service. And then there's a group, service to group, we'll just put. And there's a few people, one person needs their herbal formulas, another person needs their magnesium. I have my mastermind group tomorrow. So if you're interested in the mastermind group, just email me, contact me through the website. And it's tomorrow morning, 9 to 11, Monday morning, 9 to 11, if you have a health case. And transplanted excess growth. That's not going to happen today. So then on my notes, so accountability is why am I doing this? I'm staying accountable to my goals. And then today also will be, quiet evening. Exercise. And then pH plus Raglands again. And so then I look at, okay, tomorrow I'm going to need support. So see, these next 4 days, I'm really going to need to support myself. Fasting probably isn't going to happen. Wednesday going into silence is an interesting one. And then see, there's the raw sunchoke salad, and maybe I'll look at some week 3 stuff. So let me look at that real quick here. So I did really good stocking up this week. I have a lot of apples. See, I've been doing onions and apples, carrots, beets, garlic, a little bit of chia, seaweed. So I'm doing pretty good there. The seed chews I got started on. Then week 3, see, there's the cooked carrot and onion soup. Probably won't eat fennel, but I'm going to make a seed a seed and a root bitter. So I'm going to harvest some artichoke leaf, dandelion root, and some seeds, and I'm going to make a little bitters with that. There's the seed chews again. I'll make a Tulsi and peppermint tea maybe tonight. Oil pulling, I've not been on that. I need to get back to that. And then for me, there's also the and then fruits. I've really been focusing on apples and pears, a few berries. I should try some prunes. I won't do melons because I don't do well with melons. And then again, my proteins have been raw liver, shrimp, raw salmon, raw tuna. I had cooked, well, right here I had cooked in water. So that's one of the main things, is cooking in water and not frying oils. And that might be tomorrow's post, is like, why don't you want to fry oils? Let's write that down. Raw oils, and what happens when you cook oils, cooked oils, they turn into polymers. And that's that cell membrane degeneration I was talking about here. See the cell stuff. So you really want to make sure you're on that. Okay, so there's the weak stuff. Carbs, I won't be doing much carbs. Carrots, beets. I'm craving a little bit of rice to restore the yin, so I'll probably make a bone broth rice. Like 5 to 6 parts water, or bone broth, 1 part dry rice. And that's usually pretty nourishing. It can also be a soup base. Cauliflower is another good blood type O food. So you could ask the question, am I cleansing, even though I'm not fasting and I'm not doing a lot of strictness? Yes, I feel like I'll see more at the end of mine as far as the cleansing goes. And remember, cleansing is clean. And so on here, see, that's all the stuff I'm taking. It's pretty much this pill box is full every morning of stuff. And by 12 or 1, I'm usually halfway done. So vitality. Let's finish off with that. So the ways you can measure your vitality is, if you don't have a blood pressure cuff, is if you lay down for 3 to 5 minutes, or sit and stand up suddenly and you get dizzy, you got adrenal fatigue. If you have lab work and your sodium's below 140 and your potassium's above 4.5, you probably have adrenal fatigue. If you have pH problems, your bicarbonate, CO2, your blood urea, nitrogen, your creatinine are all off. Well, actually, no, your chloride, your bicarbonate, CO2 are 2 good markers of sort of how well your body's managing pH, through the adrenals and the lungs. There's other markers too, but another vitality marker is your temperature. If it's normally 98.6 and suddenly it drops below 98, it should be taken the same time of day also. If your rising body temperature is not at 97.6, then you're a little bit low thyroid. That's Broda Barnes thyroid test. Your blood pressure should rise 5 to 10 points when you stand up from lying. The systolic diastolic pulse should all rise. We went over that today. And your pulses, if they're normally a certain strength. Mine, I took my pulses today before and after I ate. And after I ate, there was a noticeable relaxation and increase in the chi of the pulse by 25%, which is generally what acupuncturists see. I'm 25 years into pulse taking myself. So it's never really feel like, I don't know if anybody feels like an expert at it, unless they're maybe been doing it for a lifetime. I'm probably a couple thousand in at this point. So those are all markers you're looking at. You need relative measurements. So you need a series of measurements. This is my baseline, and now I've dropped below it. I should not do a hard cleanse. Do the lemon juice test. Suck on a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, spit it out, wait a minute, then take your saliva pH. And if it doesn't get extremely alkaline, you shouldn't do a deep cleanse, because you don't have the vitality to do so. Remember, your cells need vitality. And if they don't, you could actually have a histamine response to elevate your vitality. What did he just say? Histamine response to elevate vitality? Check out the video blogs, and you too will see Health Alkemy. I'll see you guys tomorrow. The mastermind group will be going on 9 to 11 in the morning. So we might just have a group video blog tomorrow morning on the mastermind group talking about some of these things. Thank you very much, folks.